All right, hi everybody, and welcome to another edition of our ongoing GatesAir Connect webinar series. Today's webinar, Essential Audio over IP STL with the Intraplex IP Link 100, is presented to you by GatesAir's Tony Gervasi, who's our Sales and Business Development Manager for our Intraplex Products Group. Do you want to see how easy and reliable it is to get your station's STL IP ready? Well, stay tuned because Tony will show you exactly how with a great slide presentation and a live demo. So stick around. But before we start today's webinar, we're going to take a quick 3-minute break to allow latecomers to join in and share the knowledge. So in the meantime, please sit back and relax, and we'll see you in 3. All right, everybody, and welcome from that 3-minute break. Hello, and welcome once again to the GatesAir Connect webinar series. My name is Keith Adams. I'm the Marketing Communications Manager for GatesAir. And as always, I'd like to thank you for taking some time out of your busy schedule, and spending it with us. So trust me, it'll be worth it today because this webinar revolves around not only a popular topic, but a popular tool that we happen to sell called and the webinar is called Essential Audio over IP STL with the Intraplex IP Link 100 by GatesAir's own Tony Gervasi, the Sales and Business Development Manager for our Intraplex Products Group. Tony is going to focus on a special member of our award-winning Intraplex IP Link family of codecs, the IP Link 100, which is our single stereo channel IP encoder decoder. So this webinar will not only illustrate why IP Link 100 is one of the most reliable and robust codecs out there, but it also will include a live demo of the IP Link GUI. So I think you're gonna like what you see here today. See, as always, we're going to have a question and answer session at the end of this presentation. So we'll be fielding a few questions that came in from email first, but we encourage you to enter in any questions you might have in the live chat or top chat, however it might be called, the section directly underneath this video, or if you're watching this directly in YouTube, is directly to the right of the video. So we'll be answering those questions in a first come, first served manner. So feel free to enter any kind of question at your convenience. So enough of me, let's get on with the webinar. So allow me to hand over the reins to Mr. Tony Gervasi. Tony?
Thursday, right? Yep, Thursday. Thanks for taking time out of your schedule. I know us radio engineers really don't have a lot of time to sit in front of computers and look at long sessions. So I really kind of wanted to do a real quick, what does an IP 100 look like, IPL 100 look like when you take it right out of the box, and how quick can I get it to pass audio? So we're going to do that in a few seconds here. You know, GatesAir and Intraplex have been around for a long time with our integrated codecs for voice and broadband audio. We can do AAS 192 composite over IP. The IP Link series is the ideal audio contribution distribution choice for any broadcast facility. Let's take a quick look at some of our stuff. This is the IPL, the IP Link Mpx. This allows you to pass composite over Ethernet as well as AAS 192. And as you can see, and I'm just going to do these real quick. On the back, you have your Ethernet connectors, GPIOs, your clock if you wanted to do GPS clocks, as well as for Synchroncast, as well as your analog composites and your digital composites. This is great for SFN networks, or if you have a point-to-multipoint for your main backup tertiary transmitter sites. That's always a great location. The IPL 200 and 200A. The 200 and 200A, they're two channels, but they're discrete. You could do wherever you want with them. And the 200A is also giving you AES 67 to move information back and forth. And again, multiple Ethernet ports, that's standard. So we have XLRs for our primary channel 1, and then the Studio Hub compliant for channel 2. The IPL 200 and 200A also have GPS inputs for Synchroncast if you're doing an SFN network. And then, of course, the 100 and the 100P series. The 100P, if you look on the bottom of that screen there, has the display, has the VU meters. The 100P also adds the ability to do an SFN network with the GPS inputs. And then we're going to talk about, of course, the 100. If you look at the top there, 100 is basically our entry-level IPL codec, but is full-featured. 3 Ethernet ports. All 3 of them could be active to do point-to-multipoint, multiple paths. They're labeled WAN 1, WAN 2, and management, but really all 3 are active to do any transport. XLR audio in and out for the main channel there. You have serial RS-232 data, as well as GPIO, 8 contact closures and status outputs. And these could be internal, external, depending on alarms, or do you want to activate another type of transport, or do you want to talk to an external box? I'm going to switch over here real quick to, we just got our first IPL 100, and here we are going to log in for the first time and create a user account. That's one unique feature with ours, is we absolutely force you to create, when you log in for the first time, username and password. So the first time you get it, you're going to do the usual admin, but the first thing that pops up is the window. Administrator account has the false password. Do you want to change it? Well, you can say cancel, but as soon as you try to do anything else, yeah, it kind of forces you to want to change it. Now, we went ahead and added some passwords in here and usernames, so we'll come back to those in a second, and I'll show you how to use one. But yes, if we're going to change it, so it's forcing me to change the admin password. So I'm going to go ahead and change it. And here we can set max session length, how many sessions, and then some contact information. And then there's a secret question, of course, if you forget your password. So we'll go ahead and save that. And now I'm able to go ahead and add username and passwords as I want. And as you see here, the user accounts that we have. I'm just going to create one for me here. Sorry about that. Okay, so we have user groups. We have of selections here of operators, engineers, and then viewing only, if you would. So I'm going to put under engineers because engineers is going to give the ability to see all statuses and change any configuration settings, as well as to look at my account information, put streams in and out of service. Again, how many sessions, phone number, and email. I'm going to go ahead and save this information here. So now we're going ahead and logged in. This is also where, if you see where you'll put feature keys when you log into the administrator. So in this particular box, if you notice, all features are active with the exception of Synchroncast, because the IPL100 does not have a GPS input and does not have the ability to do Synchroncast. And the unique feature here is also activate trial license. So if you click this, this gives you the ability to try all the features available to the IPL series, and it unlocks it for 30 days. It's a one-time trial, but if you wanted to try stream splicing or try a different algorithm or try IP Connect or Live Look, you can go ahead and activate those licenses. It'll activate all features for 30 days. And again, that's a one-time trial. So I went ahead and created my username and I'm in, and then I'm going to log back in as such. Remember it. And as you see, this is out of the box what we're getting now. This is a little different here because I actually have music playing off of a USB stick, just to show some audio levels as we set up streams. But really, I'm going to see my audio channels in and out. If I'm looking at my far end, and this is going to be my far end unit that we're connecting to. This happens to be located in Mason, Ohio. As we log into that, and again, I'm logged into one of the WAN ports here, but we have complete management. And there's audio playing coming out of here, out of the backup. And again, they're playing an audio source. But this gives the ability to set up a stream real quick. So I'm going to set up an RPT stream. Pretty simple. Add the stream. I'm going to call it 2 gates. Right? It's going to be a transmit stream. I'm going to choose audio in this case. Destination IP address is going to be where you're sending it from. Or to, I'm sorry. And ports. It will default ports and change ports as you add new streams to the system. But if you were adding into another system already, or you wanted to match ports, you could with another system, you can. So this port, we're going to transmit, our destination UB port is going to be 50045. That is going to be important to know on the far end. So we're going to save that. So right here, this is the default for the setting for this particular stream. It's a unicast. My management port, I'm actually going to go out the management port because that's where I have IP audio, or that's where I have IP connected this time. The other 2 ports I don't. We're going to send stereo, and I'm going to send Opus this time. And I think Opus sounds pretty good, and I'm going to do it at 192. We're going to apply those. Now, this advanced screen, this gives us some additional features where you'll see the source UDP, the destination for the UDP port for FEC for forward error correction, whether or not I'm sending aux data with it, the packet sizes, PCM interval, signal type of their speech, music, or either or, variable bit rate or constant bit rate. You can interleave, and then how much forward error correction if you wanted to. And you can go in and change those as your stream's running your forward error correction. Of course, you wanted to add time delay to it. And then, of course, there's an authentication ID, which allows you to use a unique ID for this particular stream that has to match on both ends. When you're talking about contact closures, I could set whether I have contact closures 1, 2, and 3 that are dedicated to this particular stream. And then we have enable alarms from receive end, disable transmit on no activity, or disable transmit on AAS3 failure. So if there's no audio going through or no AAS3 going, it will go ahead and disable the transmit. With IP data, if you have IP Connect, this is where we could set up if we're going to marry the IP data with this particular audio stream, whether it's UDP data or IP. And then statuses tells us everything about the stream, and once we log into that, I'll show you those. The other thing that we need to talk about is configuration real quick. And setting up our network interfaces. So you have 3 separate network interfaces. I have 2 of them turned off right now, WAN 1 and WAN 2, but the management is active. There's my local inside port because I am going through my Ubiquity router with my subnet. I can enable a DHCP if I wanted to use a DHCP server. Of course, I can also enable DNS, and here you can see it's using Google. When it says mirror this port, there's a front RJ45. That port is mirrored, and you could choose what particular WAN you want to mirror it with, or what particular Ethernet port you want to marry it with. And then also for security reasons, let's say management's going to be inside your network and you have your 2 external through WAN 1 and WAN 2. You can turn off just about everything. So you don't, they're on an outside port, turn off FTP, HTTP, so you don't have management to it, Telnet. So you can disable all of those. And the other thing we have to talk about is the forwarding table. So this could be this could be as a macro or a micro, depending on how much you want to get down to. I'm having all traffic. If you notice, it's the 0.0 for the destination and the net mask, all of it going through the gateway that it's associated with the management port. But I could, if I wanted to, add a destination, and I could get down granular where I can make it just the IP address that I'm going to. And steer that directly through, directly to a particular gateway. But in this case, since I have everything going through my only management gateway, we're going to leave it as a global. And of course, this is also, you can change this, and this is something I'm doing at a couple of different stations that are using Comcast as a backbone, and all the Comcasts are at 96.74. I can go ahead and just wildcard this if I wanted to. So then all the traffic that's going to go to the, well, this in 216.196, anything in that mask will go ahead and go out that particular port. But this is important to do, the setup for all your paths. If you don't set up your forwarding table, you could fail connecting to the other end. So here we have our forwarding table set. My stream's already set. We pick the audio. I'm going to go ahead and just go into it and connect to it. So it's going ahead, it's going out to the far end, and you're going to see it's in service, but it hasn't connected yet. Staying. So let's now create, this is on the receive end. I'm going to create a stream on the receive end. And this is, we're just going to call this from Tony. It's receive, it's audio, and I'm going to put this to channel 1, and it's going to be the primary source. Now, this is a 2-channel system, so that's the reason why you're getting the selection, whether it's on channel 1 or channel 2. And of course, on your source selection, you can have it so it's a primary, secondary, and we'll show you those selections momentarily. Now, what's going to be important here is matching the receiving port, and I believe we went with 45. And it is Opus. It's as simple as that. Connecting up to the series now. Of course, I'm going to say I did something wrong, and let's going to see what I did wrong. This is the receive transmit end. Oh, here we go. And the receive end. So it's connected up. RTP state is up. It now shows you all your packet statistics. As you can see, I'm losing some packets here going through my system. And of course, it's reporting the peer statistics here also in this particular case here. Because I am running Opus, Opus 192, you can see your stream rate and your total stream rate, and that's going to be including your FEC. So if I had to increase, I could do this right on the fly. Let's say I wanted to add 50% forward error correction. I could do that right on the fly while the stream is running. And then you'll see your total rate change here. So you know how much bandwidth you're actually using leaving. Here you can also, on the, the receive end, I can look at report all, show jitter. You can see your maximum average jitter at the time, what's in the queue, reset your counts. And again, all this becomes important as you start looking at your path and you're doing your QoS and how much buffer you're going to set up and what type of, if you need to get multiple paths, if you're going to set those up. Now here on the transmit end, where we talked about configurations for your audio input, your channel input. Well, in this particular case, I have one channel, so I'm using loop output number 1. And if I were to look at the output for channel number 1, you can see that it's playing a file right here, and it's a playlist that's stored on the USB stick. There's a bunch of songs on there. But this gives us the ability on our channel out to select primary, secondary, and our backup. So looking at the receive side, on our output, we can see that its source selection is going to be dynamic, or I can fix it for primary, secondary, or backup. Your sample rate set based on what's coming in. Your primary, your source type. So this is, in this case, it's going to be an RTP stream, but you could set whether it's a STIP stream or an HTTP stream or none. The source stream is from me, but if I had additional sources set up, I would select them there. And that could be your secondary. And then tertiary, your backup, again, could be whether it's a local feed coming in from one of the inputs. It could be a local feed from looping through from one of the outputs, or in this instance, channel 1, it'll be channel 2. And then whether it's an RTP stream, a file, or an HTTP stream. You have some silence detection in here, audio monitors, your mute, as well as your aux data rate, if the RS-232. Timing, since this is a 200 series, this will give you the, if there's a GPS module, it'll actually give you the ability to select GPS, since the 100 doesn't have that ability. Your internal timing. Sorry about that. So your internal time, this is a 100. Yeah, so you have internal timing in AES, as well as on your output, your stream timing, whether it's stream coming through or in AES. Audio processing, that's actually, I have it disabled in this particular box, but that just gives you some nice leveling, especially if you're using this for streaming to a streaming replacement. Level gains, this gives you all control of your inputs, your output source. We talked about the channel inputs and outputs, whether, again, in the case, if I'm going to do ASCView, you could see the lock input, the parity status, and all that good stuff. Alarming, it gives you the ability to set alarms. And what if you want to do a contact closure with them, and whether or not the alarm is going to be sent to an Snmp trap, whether it's logged, just a blinking the LED out front, or you can disable the alarm altogether. If I don't want to know when management WAN goes down, I could do that as nothing. I don't want to do any alarm for that. So then I won't know anything about that alarm. So it won't give me any statuses there. But you get to set all your different alarms and all your different streams. Sorry about that. And then alarm logging. So it gives you the ability to go ahead and create your syslog. You can download it to look at. You can upload it to a syslog server or your FTP, and that gives you the ability to just look at all your streams. Under general information, this is real quick. It gives you your basic information for this particular box, your current time, whether you're going to use a time server, your signaling ports. This is what you would use for if you're using live look. Contact information or contact closure is, again, we're going to set those up for out of band transport, whether I'm going to mute an output, stream transport, stream control. If I wanted to, I could select the state, whether a stream went out of service, inverted or not, apply it. So now you could just team that control there for that particular stream control. But this gives you the availability because there's 8 contact closures. The revisions there, it gives you your packages that you're currently running. And then SIPs gives you the ability to set up SIP profiles if you wanted to use to connect to another device, whether it be another party's device or bring in SIP calls. You can do that also. Here we have the Snmp and your traps where you could set different users if you wanted to. And again, of course, we have this is use the IGMP and ARP tables to help you do some diagnostic and also set information up if you wanted to. This is like a real quick look at how fast we can get streams up and running on an IPL 100. And that's not even doing some additional features, you know, adding contact closures if we wanted to, or adding streams, or adding RS-232 data if we wanted to. That's real simple to do. Again, if whether we're transmitting it out and as we're setting up the stream here, if aux data, if we wanted to turn that on and marry that to this particular stream. Setup in progress. So there's lots of tools, there's lots of configuration abilities, and one of the neat things about this is the ability to send the same piece of audio to multiple locations at any given time. So right now I'm going to send this as Opus 192, but if I wanted to, I could send another stream to a different location and send that as linear, uncompressed. I could send it as shoutcast. I could send it as icecast. All the different algorithms that we offer, whether they come standard or you buy the additional add-on packages, and we can send those. To multiple locations at the same time. It also gives you the ability that if you start running out of horsepower and you say, hey, I want 4 uncompressed streams and a couple of Opus streams and a linear stream or a shoutcast stream, if you start taxing the processor, it's not going to allow you to do it. It's basically going to say, okay, you pretty much reached the end of what you could do streaming wise. But really, how many streams you set is going to be based on the type of compression you're using and how much bandwidth that you have available and how much horsepower you're using out of the box. In setting up on receive stream, we have the ability on the receive side, I could set up another stream and have the two be a primary and secondary stream, so that if the primary stream were to fail, the secondary stream would just automatically kick over. Now, this is not stream splicing. This is just a primary and secondary, which can come from the same location, come from a different location. It could be an icecast. It could be if you wanted to, or a shoutcast stream. Say you want to pick it up off your streaming service from your company. You can use that as your secondary output or your secondary source if you wanted to. And even again, a tertiary, if you want to use as a tertiary source, you had that ability to do that on your output here, where you could select what you would like. Now in stream splicing mode, that's actually pretty simple to set up, because if I was sending from one location, which would be here, and I'm sending 2 different paths to this location, I would actually set up 2 receives and group them. And by grouping them, that automatically will activate the stream splicing between the 2. And that gives you the ability, it's basically hitless, if you would. It gives you the ability that if you lose packets, you have jitter, or a circuit drops out altogether, you'll just keep on running. When you do stream splicing, that's an option that's offered on all the boxes. The main and backup redundant is standard on all the IPL series. I believe we did that. That's pretty much our quick overview. I'm covering my notes here. It looks like it pretty much hit most of the notes. I know it's been a quick 30 minutes, but if we have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer some questions. I do have a few here that came through, and Keith, if you had any more. One of them is, could I transport GPIO and IP connect along with audio? Absolutely. GPIO and IP data and RS-232 are all the signals that can be transported along with the main audio and your stream. And the way we multiplex our payload format, not only transport these signals reliably because you're using all the horsepower and the advantage, but it keeps them synchronized across the transport of the network. So that's a question there. And here's one. Can I send IceCast streams along with studio transmitter? IPL only available 100p. No. The only feature that's not available in the 100 is Synchronocast. The 100p, 200, 200A, MPX all support GPS timing, which is absolutely needed for Synchronocast. But as for IceCast streams, Shoutcast streams, you can send multiple IceCast streams that are completely independent of your primary stream, and with its own encoding. It's possible, like this and other models in the IPO, the way we can do multiple encoding, there's no extra costs. And also, not only that, we can tie data with that. If we wanted to send, here's your automation source file. If we wanted to send that out, whether it's an FTP file or from your automation server, and we could send that information. Here, this is configured automatically for an XML to run audio vault at Enco, but we could send that IP data along to your streaming server, so they can go ahead and pass your now playing, and then also trigger your remote spots, since if you're doing stop set covers from your streaming server.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Tony. The IP Link 100 is pretty doggone powerful. Just looking at just the variety of screens and parameters, and just it seems like
there's a toolbox in here within a toolbox within a toolbox. It's a great but it gives you the ability, and you know, some of the neat features is in talking to groups as we're deploying these and we're looking at these, is the ability that, you know, they may have a nailed up private IP link using, whether it's licensed ubiquity radios, unlicensed ubiquity radios, or licensed radios. And this gives them the ability that we can go ahead and run uncompressed, low latency on their primary path, but then they have a cable modem or DSL or some other secondary path out to their transmitter site, and we can run that out there also. So it's basically may not give them the hit list if they're not running the stream splicing with it, but it gives them the ability to have a main and a backup automatically. And not only that, we could take the if you would, the third output, the management output, and if you had a set of let's say the Intraplex 950 HDLs or 950 radios, we could pass UDP across that, and these could be transported across that also. So that gives you, you know, 3 ways to move information from point A to point B, including E2X data and IP or any other data that you need to move out in that direction.
It's not just about the audio. It is making sure that you've got data streams that are reliable. If one goes down, you've got a bunch of other paths that that you've set up custom to your needs. And it seems like you can really do some amazing stuff here and take full advantage of Internet Protocol.
And, you know, if you're running our LiveLook software, that will qualify and quantify the circuit. You can leave it running in the background, and it'll look at your circuit, and it'll show you, in addition to what we have, the tools that we have here on the page. But that gives you the ability to also go back to your ISP and go, hey, look what I'm seeing every Friday at 5 o'clock. What's going on here? And it gives you the ability, and LiveLook's pretty powerful tool also, because it gives you suggestions on, hey, when you're seeing this much jitter and this much packet loss, maybe you should set your buffers to do this, and it will help you mitigate some of those downtimes or some of the loss you may hear. And also, awesome. We provide the MIBs if you needed the MIBs for, you know, if you're savvy enough where you have your own trap system set up, or through your remote control. And, you know, the MIBs, we could give you the MIBs for all these devices, and you can monitor just about every parameter on the IPL series.
It's an awesome tool to add on to this, just because a lot of the guys that might even be listening to this very webinar feel like they don't have the time to learn how the internet works and how to dig deep into, you know, just how do I really ameliorate my streams to make sure that things are going to be reliable. I'm already an RF engineer. Why do I now need to be a systems engineer? And LiveLook is going to help you.
It's a tool. Again, LiveLook is a tool for you to use to have the ability to find a problem and correct the problem. And quite frankly, if they don't purchase it with the purchase of an IPL system, they could still download LiveLook for free and use it free for 30 days by just activating the feature keys. And
that's great news.
So, if they get into a system where, hey, I actually had a TV station that's their system's been running for 4 years, and all of a sudden they need live look, and I just basically sent them the link, and they downloaded it and they found their problem. They had to basically tell their ISP what the problem was, and they found it and fixed their issue. But they never had to deal with it before. They didn't know how to deal with it.
Ooh.
So live look gave them that ability to look at it and also correct their problems while they corrected show them how to correct their issues while their ISP worked on their circuit.
That's awesome. Well, we do have a few other questions that are coming in over the line. And before we get to those questions, real quick, I wanted to point out for those who aren't quite aware and do have some questions to ask, you can enter them in that live chat and to either the right of this video if you're on either the right of this video if you're on YouTube, or underneath it if you're checking this out at GatesAir.com. And this webinar will be available here on GatesAir.com and on the YouTube channel later today. So the same links that you're using to watch this right now should work for viewing the recording if you want to come back and bone up on some of the things that Tony just mentioned. And in addition, we're going to be adding this webinar to our educational video library at GatesAirUniversity.com. That's GatesAirUniversity.com, which, if you haven't heard, is our online hub of lessons and webinars about broadcast engineering. Some fundamentals and even some very specific important things that you're probably checking out here to keep current with the way that you run your stations. We encourage you to visit and browse through a lot of really great material there.
I'm sorry, I was going to say, I just saw one of the questions come across real quick. They were talking about different audio codecs you could use. Standard, all the IPL series has linear, Opus, G.722, and AAC-LC. That's standard out of the box. We do have another package you can add on, which would give you MPEG 1 and 2, layer 2 and layer 3, AAC-HE, AAC-HEV2, and AELD. And then that package also includes the key to do AES 192 transport across the box. And then there's one other standalone package that if you really wanted enhanced aptX, we can add that on there. That is a standalone package. And one of the things also we talked about, a question that came I saw about power supplies. The unit here, I mean, first of all, it's one rack unit. It's not a half a rack. Standard is 3 Ethernet connectors on the box. All of them work. And of course, the mirrored port on the front. We're not doing any USB dongles to hang a Ethernet cable or anything like that. Standard is, of course, your regular power supply. It's not a wall wart. It's not a brick. It's a standard power cord. But then we also have the ability to add a 12 volt or a 48 volt power supply to that. So, and that's external. So if you wanted to add your primary source, and then you needed 12 volts DC as your backup, you can run that. Or a lot of places, we have a lot of 3-letter agencies that love to use our equipment, and they want the 48 volts to run it. And if they're sitting in a communication shack or whatever, and these systems would run off of that. So that's right there. That's more of a box than you're going to get at the same price point as our competitors for the same product. And then with buffering, the AAC-HE and multiple frames payload, you can have almost 2 minutes of buffering if you wanted to. So that's a considerable amount, especially if you're running into circuit issues. That helps you with especially using live look and changing your buffering schemes. You could do that. I've been using Opus a lot. It sounds phenomenal. I love the way that we handle it. I love the way it sounds. It sounds like somebody described it that we just turned it up to 11, and I guess that's the best way to describe it. I think our Opus is one of the cleanest sounding codecs out there.
It is pretty tasty. We have a question from RVA Mike. I hope it's a nice Google name. The question is, when should I use FEC, or forward error correction?
Well, that again, if you have a clean circuit and you're running your own point to point across your network, you really don't need to run FEC at that point. But if you start seeing that you're having some jitter issues, you're starting to have some packet dropouts, you can increase the FEC and start at the 25, go to the 50, or even 100% if you wanted to. But then the FEC works in conjunction with buffering. You can do both if you wanted to really add some time to it. But really, the FEC is only if you really need to add that much forward error correction on there. And it again depends on your circuit. If you got a clean circuit, no isolated losses or anything, then you can stick right with no FEC at all. If you have isolated losses, burst losses, you want to stream splice with time or network diversity, because with stream splicing we could do it both time diversity, where I'm sending one stream in real time and another stream a couple hundred milliseconds delayed if I wanted to, and then it puts it back together. If I only had one path there, or I could do path diversity, then you can add some FEC to that.
There you go. Dave Shelton asked the question, is the stream splicing a standard feature, and would GPIO be affected with it?
GPIO is not affected by it, and it is an option feature on all the boxes. We do have a special that we're running with the IPL 200. If you're running, if you purchase two IPL 200s, we're running a special where it comes with stream splicing and IP Connect. It's a package that we're going at. The package list for normally like 11.9, and the special is for $8,900, and that's list price. You can work with us if you have an account through GatesAir, or if you have your local vendor, your box goods vendor, you can work with them. But GPIO, though, whether it's the contact closures or IP data, it's all transported within stream splicing, so that just adds the additional reliability to the GPIO transport.
All right. We currently don't have any other questions. Dave Shelton he wanted to point out, I believe, to our VA Mike, he was pointing out that he has fiber circuits. See, we have fiber circuits that we have the FEC at 100%. It was at 60% for months, but then we had issues that the provider didn't admit to. So, so that's definitely,
we should make sure he gets a copy of Live Look.
yeah, that's why you get Live Look. He says that. Wow, that's pretty impressive. He also points out that they have one IP 200 that's feeding about 7 IP 100s. So there's some flexibility that you can power with.
Yeah, and again, there's the whether it's an IP 200 or an IP 100 or a 100p, it's just how many channels are you getting and the functionality. If in this particular case, if he's using a 200 for multiple paths out, you can send them to 100s. They're fully compatible. The only thing that's not really compatible are the Mpx series. You need Mpx on both ends in order to transport the composite back and forth. But yeah, if you're doing a 200 on one end and 100s, that's not a problem at all.
There you have it. Let's see. We do have about and Dave Shelton does point out that Opus rocks.
To clarify, I just want to say we can run AES-192 on all the IPLs, on the IPL 100, 100p, the 200s. If you're running full bandwidth AES-192, if you need shaping of that because of bandwidth limitations, you have to use the Mpx box for that, because we could transport composite over Ethernet in as little as 1.64 meg. Was it 1.62, 1.64, I think, meg. That's the lowest that anybody can do it, and our special coders came up with a way to do it, and it sounds phenomenal.
There's some eggheads here in the building. That is for sure. So yeah, I think we have a lot of questions answered, and I think that this was a great presentation and really great information and hands-on display of what IP Link 100 can do. So definitely thanks, Tony, for this awesome presentation. And if people wanted to get in touch with you for follow-up or specific questions about their own setups, do you have an email address or a way for people to get in touch with you?
Right through GatesAir. It's tony.gervasi@gatesair.com. That's tony.gervasi at gatesair.com. I'll be more than happy. Also, right on the GatesAir webpage, right under Intraplex, you can download the PDFs on the 100s, the MPXs, as well as our 950 HDL. You can call us directly for a quote or email us for information, as well as I encourage to work with your box goods distributor. We sell through everybody. So if you have a favorite one that you use, they'll be more than happy to send you a quote. But if you have questions on deployment, or you got special needs, or you think you want a special path set up, or you want to mix and match between algorithms and devices and what you're doing, give me a call. That's my job, is to kind of design a system for you to make sure it super serves your needs, and then and we can quote it out through your local box goods.
Tony won't say it, but I will. He's one of the eggheads. So yeah, it seems like that's what you have to be to get into the Intraplex.
And it's my background is so I spent 20 years at Nassau Broadcast in the senior VP of engineering and technology. We were deploying Interplex gear long before a lot of other people were, and there's a lot of employees now that at GatesAir that I deployed Interplex longer than they've been there. But so I'm very familiar with the product. I love it. I'm still I actually have units that I use on my own every day for my station. So I love the gear. I know how it works. I deal with it with customers every day, and I'm here to help you guys move on and move into the IP world.
That's awesome. So thanks again, Tony. Before we go, again, a quick reminder that this very webinar recording will be available here on GatesAir.com and on our YouTube channel using the exact same links that you use to view this live presentation right now. It'll also appear at GatesAirUniversity.com. So please check that site out when you get a chance and let us know what you think. In fact, if you have any topic ideas for future webinars that you'd like to see, including course material for GatesAirUniversity.com. How many times can I say GatesAirUniversity.com? Please let us know at marketing@GatesAir.com, or you can email me directly. I'm Keith Adams. So you can email me at keith.adams@gatesair.com. I'd love to hear what you got. And thanks again for attending this GatesAir Connect webinar. And for Tony Gervasi, this is Keith Adams signing off. See you next time. And hey, let's stay connected.